And that's what is important. Build skills, not titles. These slides are burning like fire, colleagues. They're talking to a lot of us. When there's a problem, don't focus on complaining on the problem. Try to explore solutions to resolve that problem. Your value as an engineer is based on what you can do, not what you can earn. Continue reading on how you can improve yourself as a salesman, how you can sell a product in the midst of competition, very stiff competition. You look at the benefits that accrue to the customer, to the client, and you emphatically listen to their challenges, maybe their equipment, how you can improve their systems. Become a solution to them and provide solutions with your products. Learn how to sell. Every successful entrepreneur and engineer understands how to communicate. Technical skills alone are not enough in this competitive world. You must be able to sell your ideas, to sell your solutions, to sell your capabilities. When you gain these skills of selling, even when you venture into your own business, you have to sell it, someone to be able to buy. And you will not be the only one selling that, either a service or product. There will be competition. So that's why it's important for you to stay ahead of the competition. You have to learn how to sell in any industry that you are. Next slide. I'll take you through what I'm calling basically the engineering your path. As you know, we are architects of our own destiny. And as young professionals, myself having been a student before who graduated, I was at the crossroads. And I believe this is what almost every engineer, even an illustrious professional that you're following in any industry, they found themselves at the crossroad after having left engineering school. So maybe these tidbits I'm going to share, they apply also to engineering students. It's important to have these tools and ideas embedded in your mind, even as you are completing school. You could be pursuing a degree in engineering, or you could be pursuing a diploma or even a certificate. But engineering is a value chain, is heavily involved in all these. Second slide, please. So I think my introduction doesn't need much. I'm Wesley Kaluba. Even Wyman is my name, given by my late father. Wyman, after Billy Wyman from the Rolling Stones. It was a bassist from the Rolling Stones. So you are going to find that Wyman probably is a well-known name amongst my peers and in industry. So yes, that's my name. You can call me Wyman. My other colleagues at Yunza added the Wyman. So the Wyman has become now like a brand. I left University of Zambia, studied mechanical engineering. And after that, I worked for Pilatus Engineering, my first job, which I got in 2000, even before my results came in, because I love vehicles a lot, automobiles. So the first vehicles I was working on were BMW, stripping them from the suspension, the engine itself, basically all systems I could check. And then I was very much interested in the German architecture of automobile, the parts. I got a scholarship to study in Germany. I pursued my first master's in Germany in maintenance management. And because I'd spent so much time looking at Land Rover, BMW, and Mazda, I was presented with an opportunity to take what is known as a practicum. In Germany, just like here in Zambia, before you graduate, you're supposed to have some industry experience. But I think our colleagues in Germany have done it quite well, whereby every student, either at the college or university, has to choose which company they would like to spend some practicum, like 6 months. So for me, in the automobile, I was given a chance to either work at BMW in Munich or Daimler Chrysler in Stuttgart, or else with Audi, which is under VW, Volkswagen, in Wolfsburg, Niedersachsen, in the Northeast. I chose Audi because I didn't know so much about Audi and VW in particular. And then I worked in the Abteilung section, which is basically the parts and logistics section, which delivers material to the Audi A4. After Germany, came back to Zambia, but then I was a changed person. You're going to see later on in the slides. I now went into the oil industry. So I worked into a company called Kobil. I think it's now Robis. It was previously Jovena, owned by the Italians. Kobil was owned by the Israeli and the Kenyan government. I worked as a sales engineer for 4 years until I joined Spectra Oil, which is still around, I think, as an area sales manager. That is in the petrochemical industry, marketing Shell lubricants and bulk fuels in Zambia's mining sector, agro industry, and manufacturing industry. From Kobil, I went into telecoms. I'm sharing this story so that you could see how engineering life can evolve and translate into anything that you want. I went into the telecoms. Remember, I'm not a telecoms engineer. When Libya African Portfolio acquired 75% shareholding of Zamtel, you remember, the government had only 25%. And under Libya African Portfolio, trading through the fixed lines, networks, data systems, and also mobile, I think it was called CLZ. So as part of the team that rebranded Zamtel to what it is now today, we call it Live Life Today. I was senior manager responsible for distribution and consumer sales. I was also regional business manager for Lusaka, entirely for the entire business, trying to fix lines, fixed lines for the utility. In 2012, I briefly worked for Lafarge, which was a vertically integrated company into manufacturing cement. Again, I was also in sales. I was the regional sales manager for the North, for the Copperbelt, Northwestern Province, Luapula, Northern Province, and the export market of the Congo DRC and Burundi. I didn't stay long. Then I joined government. My first public job, I worked for Road Development Agency, where I was recruited as a senior manager for the National Road Tolling Program. So, this was a novel project. I'm sure we all see toll plazas today, but no toll plaza has been written the Wyman yet. We designed all the toll plazas in Zambia and the entire system which is used now, and I think it's gone into phase 3, where we've got public-private partnerships. I briefly worked also for the National Road Fund Agency government wanted to transfer the revenue mobilization to fall under the National Road Fund, which is established through an Act of Parliament number 13 of 2002, falling under the Ministry of Finance. As we know, the Road Development Agency is under the Ministry of Infrastructure, and in previous years, it was under the Ministry of Works and Supply. So I juggled between the two organizations, started the entire road tolling program, and then I was promoted. I became a director in RDA for commercial and technical services. So basically pursuing non-traditional funds to raise resources for the road sector, for us to achieve road maintenance and rehabilitation. And also I was in charge of the fleet, earth-moving equipment and all the vehicles for the utility, the Public Roads Act number 12 of 2002, as we know it. After the RDA in 2021, November, I left and I established my own firm, which is called Lozungen Solutions, basically looking for solutions for the public and private sector, working with young people. I enjoy working with young people because I feel young people are a greenfield of ideas. They're able, when you present an idea to young people are able to translate that into feasible projects. So this is a startup that I started, and it's wide, it's not closed. It looks at problems. Wherever there are problems, we want to get in and find solutions to clients. I also got a job I served with a company called Camco Equipment. I'm sure most of you know it. Camco was previously Chinese agricultural maintenance company as director for marketing and sales. And I'm also serving on the Camco group of companies, which is Camco Motors, Camco College, where we try to teach young people how to use the same equipment, from dozers, excavators, even tractors. and also to repair them. And I think that is a very important skill for the country, and also just to create jobs for our youth. So basically that's Wyman, and I'm also president of EIZ, elected in 2024, and I'm also seeking a re-election for the second term, the second and final term. We won't spend much time about that, but I thought let me just introduce myself. So basically, we are talking about engineering your path. You know, mostly when you leave university, I think this is a problem which we had in my time. If my colleagues who've logged into the podcast would agree with me that there is a rush to establish yourself in industry. I've just read out my CV, Engineer Kaluba. You feel that this man has served in senior positions in different parts of industry. Even yourself, when you leave university or college, you want to be called a big name in industry. But I think you don't have to have it worked out. So what I'm saying is why you don't need to all figure it out at 25 years. I put 25 years. It could be much earlier. Maybe some complete degree at 23, or is it 22? I've seen very young people getting into university now. In our time, we used to get to university a little bit late, maybe at 20 years. So I'm saying that when you're engineering your path, you do not need to have it all figured out. So basically, you have to start from anywhere. Start from where you are. These are sounding very simple, but this is what ultimately defines your career as an engineer, whether you're successful or you are just obscure. Remember I said when I left university, I worked for a company called Pilatus Engineering. Pilatus Engineering was not a known company. And the time that I left university, obviously all engineers, and that's what inspired me to study mechanical engineering. I used to work for ZCCM. And then ZCCM had just been privatized like 10 years before, let me say 5 years before, okay, in the mid-90s. So what that meant was that there was ZCCM now, there was Concola Division, which is KCM, and there was Bahati in Luansha. So these companies were taking very few graduates. From my class, I remember I could have taken about 3, or is it 2 from mechanical engineering. We were 17. So, and then I said, I won't go to the Copper Belt because I don't think I'll be able to find something to do. And because of my passion for vehicles, because I love vehicles very much, I said, let me work for this company, Pilatus Engineering, which was on Leopard Hill Road as you're going to New Kasama. I've got a friend of mine, he spoke with his father, he said they were building a house in New Kasama and the house was unfinished. So he said, I've spoken with my dad, you can stay in that house, which is close to Pilatus. So it was a free rental, I'm not paying any rentals. It was a humble beginning. And then I could walk from that house, from the Chitalas family house, up to Pilatus Engineering every day. And I would start off like 04, I've already bathed, dressed, and 05, I'm walking. So I'll be by the office by 06. And the owner of the business noticed that this young boy was always here, the earliest. It didn't take long for him to promote me, to put me in charge of the parts department, where I was studying all the parts for BMW. You know, there are 11 digits. Up to now, I know most of these parts by heart. It's difficult to forget them. From oil filters, fuel filters for an E6, E36, E47, everything. It was embedded for an X5. They were in my head. If somebody asks for this, I'll just pick it and give. I was saving a workshop of over 100 technicians repairing vehicles. So I think we sold so much of those parts. I was in logistics and parts sales engineer. And that's how I got the scholarship to Germany. So basically, today, it's not about having all the answers in what you want to do. It's about understanding how to approach your journey as an engineer. First of all, you could have a passion, okay? It could be a silent passion. Maybe you've got a passion about processing of water, purification of water, or you could have a passion about houses, shapes of houses, or maybe bridges, the strength of bridges. That is the passion that you have. And then whatever you're doing, you have to pursue that, to strengthen, to acquire some skills in that line. That is what's important. You do not have to start off as an expert whom everybody is talking about. That comes later. Do not focus on what you do not have. For instance, you do not talk about, I should have been an engineer with Barrick. Meanwhile, you don't have it. So what is it that is achievable for you immediately, which you can access? In certain cases, it could not be paid job, or it could be just impression which helps you just to survive. But then you have to commit yourself so much. I'll talk about that later in the future slides. So basically, do not focus on what you don't have. Make full use of the opportunities that are available to you, no matter how small they may seem. Because later on in your career, you are going to be reminded that that was the best opportunity that you ever had. And then I'll add that progress does not begin with perfection. It begins with an action. So delve into an opportunity that you have seen, regardless how small it is. It could be a diversification from what you have been trained. Pursue it and make it into perfection through a series of repeated actions in your career. Next slide, please. Okay. Yeah, so what is the opening perspective? I think I've spoken about this. There's a pressure to succeed early, especially now when I'm seeing people, of course, with social media. There are so many influencers online. I think they've got 3 vehicles or 5 vehicles, they've got this. That can blind you and you end up not having the skills that you require. I mean, the right skill set to develop into an impactful engineer in society. So the pressure is real, but you have to fight that pressure. You have to be obscure and acquire the skills which everyone is not talking about. It's very difficult to acquire skills as you go much early in your career, much later in your career. You could be now as a manager on site, but you just discover that you do not have those basic skills which an engineer would have. And you feel shame because you don't want to say, I don't know this, because this is what the young engineers, the ones who are just graduating, probably have. So it's very important to master those basic skills. Early success is often misunderstood. I'm not saying it's not good to succeed early. It's important. But I've also spoken with a lot of engineers who grew up very fast. They graduated, they worked for a short period of time, they became a manager, and later on a director, now they're in boardroom, only to discover that they do not understand fully what goes on site or in the workshop. So that early success could be a negative. You have to grow formidably through structured steps in engineering. Next slide. Yeah, so some of the pitfalls of success, choosing status, recognition, and quick wins. I have to speak about this. You have to resist status. I've seen some engineers, believe me, they just graduate from university or college and immediately they want to chair, for instance, an EIZ committee for engineers. Ambition is a good thing to have, but you have to know that you have to have some knowledge how to deal with people, for instance. You do not want to be frustrated by people who have already been frustrated in their careers, and you want to preside over them. So it's very important that you go through a shaping process. This is important for all of us. You do not have to define success too early. Success comes later. You have to make decisions which are not based on pressure, but on clarity. Okay? And then I'll also stress that sometimes success can lock you into the wrong path. There are people who've been promoted to be administration manager. He's an engineer, administration manager in a hospital, for instance, because you wanted that status. Maybe it's also coming with some reward, some compensation, maybe a car. And then that's a wrong success. There's a wrong career altogether for you, because what you was engineering. You end up getting frustrated because the owners of that field, the medical doctors, the nurses, they want to say, no, this person is not even health related. And then you get frustrated, you start fighting people in that industry. So this is very important. I think you should take that, you should write it down. Do not seek early success because it can lock you into a wrong path. You have to choose the right path, decide how slow it might seem, acquire the skills that are necessary for you to succeed in the chosen path. Next slide, please. The risk. Yeah, so the risk that we face, especially as early in our careers, early practitioners, is not failure. Because, and I'll tell you now, all my colleagues who graduated with me, either in my stream and the ones who graduated after, they're all leading decent lives. But I think when you start out, people start comparing. Some people can stay 3 years or 4 years without a job. Maybe let me say a gainful job. And already people are judging them as failures. No, right now, if I tell you 20 years plus, is it 25 years in industry? Everyone comes to the same level. Even those people everyone thought were nothing, they all grow and they've got something. In certain cases, they've even got more skills than the people who started earlier than them, okay? So this is what happens, it's God's design. You have to be patient because there comes a time when all of you have to be on a straight line. There are some others who start much earlier, others trail a little bit, but later on, it presents yourselves where you can see that people have really progressed. The risk is choosing early. Let me say, you have to learn the skills that you need, okay? You've already chosen to be an engineering practitioner. But now when you want to say, I want to be the manager, I want to be the director, you're forgetting learning. Learning is an essential part for your success story. So this brings me up to exposure. What you need is exposure. The limited exposure leads to poor decisions. So open up your mind. Your degree says engineering. It's a general one. So pursue anything that means engineering. From there, you'll be able to assemble a nucleus of skills that will help you to prosper in any engineering field. Many professionals, unfortunately, they spend years correcting direction. Probably they went in the wrong direction. I was telling you about my job at Pilatus. It's a family company owned by a Swiss oiler with his wife and kids. I think now one of the children is running BYD, the BYD brand from China, Build Your Dream. This company was not known by anyone. But when I went in there, I started work and even got a scholarship to study in German. The owner called me later and said, you know, Wyman, now everyone is applying for jobs at Pilatus. They feel that this is a place where everyone has to start from. So there you have to choose your own path, and later on people want to follow where they think success is. But what was the calling for me? It was obviously to have a place where I can easily accessible. I don't think I could have afforded to pay rentals, one. Then secondly, since I loved cars, I thought that I should be a such a job to give me opportunity to work with automobiles. Later on, it became like a blueprint for colleagues. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the engineering careers in reality. Engineering is not linear, where you say everything goes in a straight line curve. Sometimes you have to start very low and you rise up. In certain cases, you can actually even come down, but you have to continue moving because you know you have to move, and later on you continue rising. So the growth comes from exposure. Site work, designing, reviewing systems, and looking at innovation. Innovation, in certain cases, could just be an idea on how to improve the way a system works. I put these 4 here for you to think about these seriously. In certain places, it's the design, asking questions on how this thing works and seeking ways in which you can improve their functionality. You could probably help a small entrepreneur, a bigger firm, to improve the efficiency of a processing plant, for instance. So at site work, you are learning a lot of things, and open up your minds on systems themselves and the idea of innovation. Do not complain. That is the other issue I need to talk about. On the site, you'll find a lot of people in industry who just complain. I've heard people say engineering is not good. They sometimes venture into accounts. They run away from engineering again. thinking, because they are pursuing early success. But if you sharpen your skills, for instance, on how to design, how to read drawings, how to innovate, when people are complaining there's a problem, fix your mindset in offering solutions to that problem. That will make you into a sharp engineer going forward. Next slide. So here, you have to have resilient spirit. And this, it's easy to say the way I'm saying it in the slides, but you know, it becomes better when you practice it and write these things down in your small notebook. When you're bored, open the notebook and read them. Commit them to your daily practice so that they become you. So you try, you learn, you adjust, you repeat. You know, that is a cycle. On anything that you are focused on, try, learn, adjust, repeat. Explore different paths within a chosen field. Make mistakes and learn from them. Refine your direction over time. And then I must state that exploration is confusion, it is progress. Next slide, please. Reframing behind. What feels like delay is often preparation. I think I've said something about this. So you have to condition your mindset. Sometimes instead of saying, I'm so behind, you have to change that to saying, I'm starting exactly where I need to be. Remember, I spoke about where you start from where you are. Sorry about that. Yeah, do not tell yourself, I'm not good at this. Okay? Tell your mind, I'm learning something new every day. It's very important to dress up this positive mindset. Do not say, I failed. Say, I found a way that did not work. Next step, can I pursue something? On the previous slide, we saw about try, learning, adjusting, and repeating. Do not tell yourself this is too hard. Thankfully, you've gone through the engineering courses and you see, hey, I have to say the truth, engineering is quite hard. So when you go through any problems in your career, do not tell yourself this is too hard. It is actually a chance to grow. So when things are very hard in your career, just train your mind for that resilience spirit. Tell yourself this is a chance to grow. Next slide. Applying the engineering mindset. Okay, so explore, test different opportunities in engineering, that is, learn from failure, continuously improve, EIZ mindset, think long term. Do not think quick gains for your career. Quick gains can lead you in a wrong direction, like I said earlier. They can actually have a negative impact on your career for the long term. So you have to think long term. The skills that you're adopting now, what you are learning, this will become handy later on in your career, even 20 years later. When you form your own firm, you're trying to earn money, you're supervising people. When they're saying something, you'll be able to understand because you already went through whatever job they are doing. Treat your life like an engineering process. Okay, so the strategic mindset is customer focus, and customer focus is very important, colleagues. You've seen I've spoken about the service industry. I worked in the petrochemical industry. I worked in the telecoms industry. This shaped me to bring values of customer focus when we are starting the National Road Tolling Program. If you look at the toll gate, you essentially see a forecourt. You see a service station. And within that, you will be able to see the telecoms coming to the fore. So I put two industries in one to ensure that the National Road Tolling Program succeeds. All the skills that I learned in the customer service when vehicles are driving to a forecourt to purchase fuel, and how they are served by attendants. Basically, these come toll collectors. And the call center in the telecoms industry embedded it very well into the National Road Tolling Program for fault resolution. Exactly the fault resolution we had for fixed lines and the data networks and the mobile networks. Outcome mindset, learn and improve, delivering value, regardless how small the job that you have. Ensure that there's value that you're adding to that job, to that team. Have a one-team mindset. Problem solving. I've already spoken about this. When there's a problem, don't focus on complaining on the problem. Try to explore solutions to resolve that problem. Add team velocity and quality. Continuous evolution. This means improving thyself constantly for the long-term sustainability of your career. Next slide, please. Yeah, what to focus on? Focus on becoming valuable, not visible. This is a pitfall, which I shared much earlier. Most of us want to be recognized too early in our careers. Now I'm telling you that this is not essential. You can actually be obscure, nobody's talking about you, but you know the skills that you're acquiring. That is what is latent, and that's what is important. Build skills, not titles. These slides are burning like fire, colleagues. They're talking to a lot of us. Seek exposure, not comfort. Where you issue instructions to your colleagues. I know most people want to be the boss who's issuing instructions. You know, I've had engineers who have told me that they decline jobs of superiority. They would rather have jobs on the shop floor where they are the ones working with their hands. They are the foot soldier. Because seated there, they're just asking people, go and sort the problem. We don't even know how they sorted it. It does not help your long-term sustainability as a career. Stay curious as an engineering graduate and remain adaptable. Next slide, please. Yeah. So I think you need to focus on becoming valuable and not visible. This slide, I spoke to it. On continuous improvement, keep improving thyself. Seek opportunities that make you skilled, not just better paid. Your value as an engineer is based on what you do, not what you can earn. I'll repeat that again. Seek opportunities that make you skilled, not just better paid. Your value as an engineer is based on what you can do, not what you can earn. Next slide. This one, I tell you, is what now is going to make you successful, especially when you become as a self-employed engineer. Master the art of selling. You know, there are very few people who can sell. They work in an organization, maybe in production or in maintenance, but they don't know how their product is sold. It's the bosses who know how to cut the profit. And it's the bosses who are going to tell you that we made so much profit, so we're going to give you such a bonus. But you have to learn how to sell, whether through how to sell tomatoes or mango, whatever it is. But I tell you, you have to sell engineering projects or engineering products. That's what I do. If you have checked my career the way I explained, from selling parts of vehicles and motor vehicles to selling oils and fuels for industry, to selling mobile services, fixed line networks or data networks, and to selling the use of roads, okay, to allow road user pay principle, okay, to convince someone who's using a road to pay so that you collect revenue for road maintenance. So basically, how do you come up with these skills? Of course, there's a lot of reading and also a lot of practice. Pick up that book, which tells you how to sell. You're going to learn one thing. It's also very difficult for you to fail an interview. I'll share here that I've never attended a job interview where I've never gotten the job in my career, because I started very early reading, colleagues. And I implore that it's not late for you. Continue reading on how you can improve yourself as a salesman, how you can sell a product in the midst of competition, very stiff competition. You look at the benefits that accrue to the customer, to the client, and you emphatically listen to their challenges, maybe their equipment, how you can improve their systems, become a solution to them and provide solutions with your products. Learn how to sell. Every successful entrepreneur and engineer understands how to communicate. Technical skills alone are not enough in this competitive world. You must be able to sell your ideas, to sell your solutions, to sell your capabilities. When you gain these skills of selling, even when you venture into your own business, you have to sell it, someone to be able to buy. And you will not be the only one selling that, either a service or a product. There will be competition. So that's why it's important for you to stay ahead of the competition. You have to learn how to sell in any industry that you are. Next slide. So commit to engineering excellence. Whatever you are doing, whatever you start, do it to the best of your ability. I've said this before. Regardless how small you think it is, be the best person doing the job that you have. It's a small part. Just know that there's nobody else who can do this job better than me. Set high standards for yourself, regardless of how humble your beginnings may be. Excellence is not a position, it's a mindset. So you keep telling your mindset. Start timing yourself. Give yourself KPIs beyond those that are assigned in your performance scorecard. Next slide. The power of mentorship. Mentorship is very important. Choose a mentor, somebody you admire in society. Reach out to them and say, I admire what you do. Please tell me a little bit how you started. Take your notebook and take notes. Ask them questions. What lessons did you learn on your career? Where did you make mistakes and how did you change that mindset? That is the power of mindset. So here, your success starts by identifying mentors and learning from them. I'll tell you with no doubt that there's no successful engineer who succeeds alone. There are very powerful people whom I admired myself as a boy. When I've spoken with them, I've discovered that they've mentioned people who came before them where they learned something, and those they were the mentors. A mentorship provides guidance, it gives you perspective, and it accelerates your growth. It's very important. Learn from people who have already walked the path that you seek to walk. Next slide. So your focus on 5. From this presentation, I would like you to take 5 things. I'll say so much, I've said much, but I'm saying start from anywhere where you are. Do not despise your small beginnings. Later on, you'll find that those were the jewels in your career. Later on, you'll be telling stories to people that this is where I started, and people will be admiring. But right now, where you're starting yourself, you think that's not the place you need to be. I'm urging you to start from there and ensure you set high standards. Whatever you start doing, do it to the best of your ability. Make sure you're the best person doing that. Nobody else can do it better than you are in that position. Thirdly, keep improving yourself. It could be pursuing further studies or acquiring new skills. Ensure you keep moving, keep growing. It's very important. The 4th one, from the previous slide, learn the art of selling. Sell. When you learn the art of selling, you're going to understand how businesses operate. Teach yourself some accounts on how to calculate net profit and how to reduce operational costs. These will be valuable tools for your business. The 5th one is identify mentors and attempt to learn from them. I'll also add that you need to read. Read books. People will discourage you that they're successful people who've never read books. Some people have never been to school. I've spoken with them personally. I'll tell you, everyone reads. They've read a lot. Maybe it's the Bible they've been reading too much. In the Bible, there are two great books. There is Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. They've got even information on how to succeed in business, all hidden in the Bible. So I'll tell you that you have to read. Myself, I read a lot, colleagues. It's an open secret, which I can share. You need to read books. In books, there's knowledge, which helps all of us to increase our chances for success. And I share this nugget to end the presentation, that the future belongs to those who build it. One decision, one lesson, and one step at a time. Thank you very much. That's the end of the slide. Next slide, please.
If there are questions, I think we can, I don't know if you can take questions, sir.
Yes, I'm ready to take questions. I've got my notebook here.
Okay. The first question comes from Brian Kawe. He's saying, how can I effectively leverage my skills and qualifications as a graduate engineer to secure relevant opportunities and grow within the industry?
Okay, that's one.
Yes, there are no questions.
Maybe I can take three.
The advice is you put the question in the chat box so that we don't have a situation where everybody wants to speak at the same time. So this is the first question that I'm just from reading.
Okay, Brian was saying, how can I leverage to use my skills so that I can grow in industry? I think from the presentation, there are quite a number of tidbits that I've shared. Of course, the wisdom I've also gathered in industry is that there's no straight line to success. Okay, whoever you're going to interview will tell you they took a different path, but there are certain traits which they embraced to achieve success. The first one is starting from where you are, and then continuous improvement, and also having perseverance, resilience, and patience. Not having patience is what has landed most engineering students, or we say graduates, in the wrong paths, and maybe feeling lost and feeling like a failure. Like I've shared, no one ends up a failure in engineering. The greatest tool is that you have graduated as an engineer or engineering practitioner. The next that comes, there will be opportunities presented. If you're not calm, you're not resilient, you're not focused, you might miss these opportunities. But most of them, they're hidden in the most humble opportunities. Those opportunities everybody looks down on. That's where you'll be able to maximize, to utilize your skills. Okay? So for you to grow in industry, you need to repetitively use those skills, apply your skills to resolve challenges and problems on behalf of employers or people. Those things which people are not interested in, that's where the skills actually lie. I hope I've answered that question. It's very important for you to apply the skills this very early in your career, because when you grow, you won't have an opportunity to use those skills. There'll be other people who are coming behind you who are going to occupy that space. Do not listen to people who laugh at you, who say that, look, the kind of job he's doing. In that lies abundant wealth of skill enhancement. That will help you as you grow in your career.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There are two more questions here. The first one reads, what guidelines can you give? Oh, it's actually coming from Faith Nkonde Bulaya, associate engineer. So what guidelines can you give to someone wanting to start their master's? What are some of the factors to consider before selecting a master's program? The second one is,
Okay. So,
the second one is, how can I improve my sales ability while I'm working, I mean, mining industry project?
Okay, so there are two questions there. The first one from Engineer Faith. She's asking, how can you advise someone who wants to start a master program? I think I grappled on this also myself. I had to work for 3 years, from 2000 2003, before I went for a master program. I'm sure most master program will tell you that you need at least industry experience for 2 years. That is a prerequisite. By then, I never understood why. You know, there are people who are lucky, of course, maybe you've just graduated, has got a distinction, immediately gets in the master program in Europe or anywhere. But later on, I've discovered, chatted with these colleagues, they miss out on a number of things. So the number of things is industry experience at the shop floor. You graduate with a master, come back, you don't want to do certain jobs. You think you're more qualified than those people handling that. But what happens is you're shortchanging yourself in skills acquisition. So what I normally advise people is that even though opportunities are coming fast for you to pursue a master, and I think most master scholarships, they've got a cap. I think it's about 35 years. So you need to work on the small jobs. Fully understand the job cycle, acquire skills, so that when you get into a master program, you are able to identify the specific area where you want to grow your knowledge. Remember, a master program is very less than a degree. A master program focuses on a small area and you want you to become an expert. So you won't touch a lot of things. You're just going to focus, maybe it's fluid mechanics, that's where you're focusing. Maybe aerodynamics, a small area. So it is very important that you utilize the time you have before you pursue a master's to acquire sufficient skills and knowledge so that when you get into a master program, you are able to talk about the things you have experienced in industry. It's very important. And you know, the professors are able to see someone who has had experience in industry. They are able to see the way you're responding to their questions. They'll be able to understand. The next question is talking about how can I learn sales? You learn sales by selling. You have to sell. So selling, you know, you perfect the skills of selling. There could be some things maybe in your household that you stopped using and you want to sell them off. You know, having scrap around the house is not good. They reduce value. Maybe it's old books. Maybe all of you in your family have gone to secondary, but you've got those books for grade 3, grade 4. Have you tried to sell those books? Put a few prices on them. Put a little stand at the corner of your house. And when people are coming, you're talking to them, this, what. You're negotiating. You're going to learn also negotiating skills. Someone will tell you, I've got a 10 kwacha here. And then you're going to understand consumer behavior as well. There are certain people who do not know how to sell. They think it's just to put something there, then somebody will come, present, put a price there, someone leave the money and they take it. They do not have customers, seller into people, try to convince them, to convince them to pay for your service or your product. My answer to that is that obviously to enhance those selling skills, you're in the mining industry, do something outside the mining industry. Obviously, you're not selling things for your employer if you're working for a mine, but part-time, try to sell something. And also there are a lot of books. And now you colleagues, you're growing up in the information age. You can just go on Google, there are some books are free. Find the books on how to sell, how to start selling. Those concepts, start learning them and writing them in your book and start applying them. In fact, you're going to find that sooner than later, maybe you come up with a career out of this. Later, you're going to see someone from India selling pumps. They want to sell pumps in Zambia. Then you ask a certain firm which is maybe mining, they want to remove water. Then you ask them, what kind of pumps do you want? What is the rating? You tell that colleague, it tells you this is how much it is. You give them a quotation, you find that you've made 100,000 just out of that, importing and then distributing it. So this is after talking even with people I've established. I've spoken with great salespeople, Mr. Lishomo, who employed me at Spectra Oil, previously worked as MD for BP. With the late Mr. Gondwe, these were engineers, but salespeople. They grew their companies and started employing engineers throughout their careers. And even them, they gave me concepts on how to sell. So selling is also a process. Becoming a better salesman, you learn every day. And later on, you'll be able to structure big deals for billions of kwacha, either selling to the government. It will be stages that you need to go through. But I advise that you start much early learning how to sell. Those are the 3 questions.
Okay.
You can help me, Anthony, on the other questions. Yes.
Okay. The next question is it's coming from Mangani Piri, electrical technician from Copper Mines Mufulira. The skills gap is very much there and it's huge. EIZ should encourage partnership between industry and training institutions for seminars and short courses to enhance skills. I think this was just a contribution.
Yeah, but I can also talk to it. Yeah, Mangan is right. I think we have also identified the skills gap as EIZ is very, very huge and it keeps widening, especially now that we have more students and industry has shrunk. There are very few employers, but all engineering students, they need an opportunity. Like I shared in my presentation, we've got a format in Germany where at least all students, it's structured, they have to serve in industry and acquire certain skills. So ourselves as EIZ, what we've done, obviously we are enhancing the CPD platform. We upgraded the continuous professional development platform, which is through the database management information system, so that we'll be able to give training to our members for free through those platforms, the online platforms. So when you subscribe to that, you get the CPD through those platforms. The next, what we are also doing is we are signing MOUs with industry. We have signed an MOU with Zambia Army, and this MOU, it plans to place engineering students and graduates to pursue internships with the Zambia Army, because the Zambia Army is actually big. We only discovered they've got a lot of, in their workshops, in certain cases, they are repairing bridges, just like the ZNS. We have also signed a draft MOU to the ZNS, which has gone to the Auditor General Chambers for clearance. Once that is signed, we are going to, once it's cleared, we're going to sign an MOU where we can place engineering graduates at the ZNS to acquire certain skills, and later on the ZNS and the Zambia Army will decide whether to take those students on. Our target is to place at least 500 students per annum through these vehicles. We are also pursuing other industry like the mines, but ultimately what we are pushing for is a reform in our country whereby companies, apart from paying taxes, I think taxes are important for them to run our social sectors like education and health. But you're going to believe to agree with me when I say that it would be much more helpful for the country if all companies are able to file positions for the young people. For instance, they should file the way we file taxes. We do returns. They can say, depending on the revenue of the company, let me say the turnover, they'll be able to indicate how many student graduates they'll place for internship in a year. And for instance, if they place at least 1,000 in a year, they should get a tax rebate, maybe 2% tax rebate. Government should give such incentives to the organizations. So then we are going to see most companies will be able to place students because they know ultimately there's a benefit for them in terms of tax return rebates. This is something that we are still pushing, and we have been engaging the Ministry of Finance through the Ministry of Infrastructure with the submission of papers. Hopefully we are going to see such a kind of transformation in our country. And I've shared early, this is how it is in Japan, in Germany, in the developed world. So that was Mangani Piri's question. The next question is what?
The next questions read. The next question comes from Brian Walia. He's saying, do grades really matter so much in industry? And how can you advise someone who has low grades, such as a silent, and someone who graduates with a distinction? My name is Brian Walia.
So Brian, you know, grades only matter in your mind. For instance, I won't say graduating with a distinction is not a good thing. So if you have graduated with a distinction, that should propel you to say, there's nothing else I cannot fail to do with a distinction. Okay, so you go with such a mindset. Even when you are faced with a challenge, for instance, of getting a job, you should know that I got a distinction, I'm going to prosper. You have a positive mind. Now, even having a humble qualification as a silent, myself, I had a credit at the University of Zambia in mechanical engineering. When I went to Germany, I had a distinction. And the lecturers, the professors were telling me they have not seen such kind of intelligence. Me, I was saying I was just a humble student at the University of Zambia. So what is important is continuous improvement. And industry sometimes, because of competition, sometimes they want to pick the very best. But myself, I've employed a lot of engineers. I'll tell you the most humble engineers are those that probably graduated with a silent or a credit or a merit. I'm looking for other things. Employability starts with humility. And also you're able to see someone who wants to learn. Do not be held hostage by the distinction that you got. Some employers might see that you are full of yourself. You think that you are not able to be taught anything. So that can hold you hostage, the very good grades. Embrace mentality of continuous learning and improvement. And that will be able to show to prospective employers per se. So it's very important for you to know, to start from where you are, like I presented, and also know that when you start in industry, you all start on the same slate. We've got colleagues who graduated with silent. They are employers now. They are big employers. They've got very successful organizations that they are running. And some others have turned out to be very good engineers in the mines of great repute, adding significant value to their employers. That's what I was saying. So you all start afresh after graduation and ensure that you continuously improve.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So I'll read the next question from Lubomba Kaumba. Student engineer, so he's saying rather, what gaps do you commonly observe between what students learn and what the industry actually requires, and how can we bridge those gaps while in school?
Okay, that's a very good question. Myself, and I'll talk about not just students who have just graduated from the bachelor's or from a technicon. When I was at Zambia, I was given an opportunity to employ across departments like sales manager, technical manager. I interviewed so many people. Some people even with masters, they've got a MBA. But I think there's a challenge. They've got too much theory, which they want to approach the work as if it's a theory. When you ask somebody, can you, even the simplest questions like, can you do a strategy on how we can sell this product? We can improve sales for this product. Then they can't. And then because of AI, they probably now they'll be able to Google and just give you from the internet, something which is not applying practically to the industry where you are. So the skills I'll give are that the tips I'll give on being successful in industry, bridging the gaps, is by learning the basics. What people usually avoid to do, that's what industry usually wants. Okay? So you have to apply yourself to learn the basic skills. The basic skills are in so much short supply. Right now, even yourself, if I ask you, you've got a child, a son or a daughter, what program would you want them to pursue? Most likely you're going to tell me you want them to be a medical doctor or an engineer, just do a degree. But no one tells me that they want their son to go and learn how to drive an excavator, how to operate an excavator. Because that is the job which is there right now. People are doing roads, either gravel roads, they are working on sites. Does everyone know how to use a dozer, for instance, for bush clearing? There are very few people involving those skills. So in industry, some people have complained that this company is employing foreigners to drive graders, but ask that person, are you able to drive a grader? You find that they can't. So whom do we expect to drive those? That is the question. So industry is missing certain skills, and I encourage the young people to pursue those skills. In your free time, for instance, try to enroll for a course where they are teaching how to operate a forklift. Should be a short skill, it's a short-term skill learning. Maybe it could be 6 months. At least you've learned how to operate a forklift. In between there, you're also going to know how to repair it for some of the problems that the forklift is faced, maybe just to bleeding the hydraulics. Those are the skills that you need in industry. You might actually need them in your own practice. I hope I've answered that question.
Okay.
Next question.
Thank you very much, sir. The next question is coming from Ezekiel Sikazwe, a graduate engineer who is a tutor at Notec. So the first question is, how is EIZ supporting young engineers, could be students and graduates, in accessing opportunities? And he adds up another question which says, what skills should young engineers in Zambia focus on to remain competitive in today's evolving industry?
I think this is a question I've already responded to, though asked differently. So what the EIZ is doing, first of all, you need to register with the EIZ as a student engineer, as a graduate engineer in your class. Then the EIZ keeps a database. You know, most employers, they write to EIZ that they are looking for certain students. And we shortlist and send those names. Some of them, they don't want to handle so many names. So you stand a better chance if you've been on the register for quite some time. The EIZ shortlist and sends. That's one. Then secondly, I've spoken about the MOUs that we've been entering with the Zambia Army and getting into the ZNS. I'm also thinking that we are going to pursue also the ZAF, Zambia Air Force, so that we could give chance to many of our graduates to access internships where they can acquire certain skills that they need in industry. We are also exploring ways to sign MOUs also with industry, such as in the mines, in the water sector, in the manufacturing sector, the construction sector, so that they can take on students to acquire skills on big projects. For instance, you've seen even just road construction. We are constructing the Lusaka-Tundura dual carriageway. How many students have been taken in there? So we want to make it a prerequisite whenever big contracts, for instance, are entered by the GRZ, that a specific number of students should be put on that project just for learning purpose. Yeah, so we are doing advocacy for students, and in certain cases, we also accord some scholarships, limited scholarships through our partners, and also the EIZ scholarship scheme that is we run through the MCPD. That is my answer.
Yeah.
Next question.
Thank you. The next question is from Mangani again. Mangani Piri. Can we use the EIZ enhance this? Can we use the EIZ enhance the scholarship program by having 2 slots? One specifically for the practicing professionals who want to enhance their skills by upgrading their qualifications, and another for those who are straight from high school.
Yeah, so there are a number of scholarships that are offered. Some are at masters, some at degrees, and some are at colleges, the technical colleges. through those TVETA-sponsored programs. But if I've gotten this, I think it's talking about the skills enhancement scholarships, where somebody can pursue, but he should have, he's talking about upgrading their qualifications. But you know, scholarships are usually highly competitive because a lot of applicants, so there has to be a process in which to select, because since they are competitive, you cannot toss a coin. So you either take people into aptitude tests so that you select, but they generally, I'll say they are low number. And I still feel that the EIZ can do better by signing MOUs with several organizations so that we can increase the pool of professionals and students to upgrade their qualifications. Yeah, this can only be achieved if industry comes to the fore. And remember, I spoke about internships. We can also increase, we can put up another clause to say, apart from just internships, maybe scholarships, the EIZ supported kind of scholarships. And I'll also state here that the EIZ has commenced the construction of a Center of Excellence in Kalumbila. I'm sure you've heard about that. That is another one which we want to add there, because that Center of Excellence is able to lobby for support from industry and philanthropists everywhere, so that we come up with a pool, one of them for scholarships. This should be a bigger one with a target there. That's my response to that.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I think there are no questions anymore in the chat box. I think there are no questions actually. So this problem.
Okay, I've seen some questions about EIZ.
Oh,
I think with EIZ, yeah, they are saying, how do we register with EIZ? How do we affiliate with EIZ? If you need any information about EIZ, you can get on their website. It's World Wide Web at eiz.org.zm. I'll repeat that. EIZ, World Wide Web.eiz.org.zm. When you get there, you're going to explore about EIZ, what it is, and most importantly, try to read the Act. When you get on that website, you're going to download, that is the Bible for engineering in Zambia. I've heard a lot of people asking, why is EIZ not doing this? I know you definitely haven't read the Act. So read the Act to acquaint yourself. It's very important that you know how engineering is regulated in your country. And believe you me, I've sat on interviews for senior positions, like a director of engineering is being interviewed, wants to join a company. I get invited to sit on those. And then they ask this director, the person wants to be a director, what are the statutory functions of the EIZ? He can't answer. And there are people from LAS, there are people from Zika, and they are shocked that he doesn't know because he's not read the Act. He thinks that is a straightforward thing. So maybe this is not taught in university or colleges, but you have to know. Read that Act and fully understand it. For instance, know the vision of EIZ, know the statutory functions, the mission, the core values, which make you a good practicing engineer. What is malpractice? Read the constitution of the EIZ. Start to understand that. That is also part of engineering practice. You can also call quadruple 3 during office hours, during work days. It's a toll-free line for the EIZ. It's 3333, 4 3s. And I'm sure you can ask your question about EIZ. It will be answered to you.
okay. Thank you very much. I think there are some questions that have come right now, but they are basically talking about the EIZ internship or volunteer opportunities. I think you've already alluded to that. Okay, I think this is the final question. It's coming from the name Knight. Yeah. How do you approach problems that don't fit neatly into one specialization?
Okay, it's a very difficult question, unless there was an example. So for instance, you're a mechanical engineer, then you're asked questions to do with civil engineering. I think that's what I can ask. So basically then you're an engineer who's charged with the task of resolving that problem. basically you're talking about the Wyman as EIZ president. Yeah, I'm a mechanical engineer myself, and the problems are in mining, they're in road construction, they're in water and sanitation. So what you do is you involve, yeah, engineering also to be successful, you have to be very collaborative. You have to be able to work with experts in their particular field, be interested in what they do, ask questions, assimilate, learn to know the challenges and possible solutions. And you've got an advantage. The young ones have got an advantage, learning. They are like a sponge for knowledge, unlike the older engineers. We, the older ones, are very slow at learning. The curve is going down. But yourselves, you can learn so much. So how you resolve a challenge, a problem in a field where you're not an expert is through collaboration and your social network. And this is the other thing I didn't talk about. Build a very strong social network. Always know somebody who's an expert in a particular field. So when you've got this challenge, reach out to your special network, explain the problem, and get feedback on how to resolve that. If in case, try to divert that problem, delegate to the person who's best suited to resolve it. That is my answer.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Eish, now questions are coming in. I don't know. Maybe you might take the last one, huh?
Okay, yes, that's fine.
Yes. How is the market for chemical engineering or material chemistry in Zambia, I think?
Yeah, it is a green field. Chemical engineering, material chemistry, mostly for the process industry. And I'm sure this is a budding industry for food and beverages, okay? Apart from Zambia mainstay being copper, mineral processing country. So, but the main thing has been that we have been exporting most of our minerals instead of processing inland. But the way I see it is that this market will continue growing because the government has realized that by sending raw material for export, we're actually exporting jobs. So there will be a huge tax allocation for exports of raw material, and then processing industry will start growing back home. So this is a greenfield market which is continuously growing, but it's already established through the food and beverages market. There's what is this? From cement production to the fertilizers industry, nitrogen chemicals, wonderful world. This keeps growing, but also for water purification systems. Your mind is open, do not close it. Keep it open. Remember, I gave an example where I went to an automobile industry where nobody was working, and suddenly that became like a big defining moment for my career. So you've got a bright mind, just keep it. I'll say this is a budding industry. It's a greenfield which will continuously keep growing and to add value, not only to the country, but to yourself as an individual. There's also prospects of starting startups for your own firm, starting very low, but obviously understanding the market will be crucial for you as you grow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate your time. You're a busy man, but to spare this time, we say thank you. So before we close,
I've had a great time. I've really enjoyed myself.
okay.
And to tell you the truth, I think there hasn't been sufficient time allocated to this on this Easter. But if you can follow my WhatsApp channel, which is Wesley Wyman Kaluba on WhatsApp, I think it was shared. You can get in touch with any of my team. I only work with young people because, like I said, young people are a gem. They are for the future. And their minds are very bright. So you can get in touch with Faith, with Willow, any of my colleagues in my team. These are the guys who are behind the Wyman campaign team. They're the ones who prepare the PowerPoint you're seeing. So we give each other a lot of knowledge. I continuously learn from them. Get in touch with them. You can forward them any personal questions that you have. Probably you were not able to reach out on this podcast. Some of them could be personal questions. If I could have time, or maybe we could have a phone call. I try to give you some tidbits on how to navigate through a challenge that would have a career challenge. I'm highly accessible. You can also access me through
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
With pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, once more. Before we close, I would want to take a moment to appreciate every single person who has taken part of this journey. From our speaker, who have believed in this vision. You know, this is the third time we're having this session, and every time you guys join in, we say thank you for that. You are not just attendees, you are builders of something that is bigger than all of us. I think you need to understand that our aim is actually to bridge the gap between what we learn in school and what we find on the site. So generally, it's just to prepare the next generation of engineers. So we say thank you for your time, and don't forget to join us again next week on Friday. We're going to have yet another interesting conversation. I think this marks the end of this session. Thank you once more, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you.